So recording has started now. Okay,
Rahul
let's.
bhai, one doubt. This
Yeah.
sharpener ka website, who has done this? That Vaibhav and Yash only
I
has done or
think,
some?
yeah, I think they only have done it. Yeah.
Bhaiya, matlab, could you just find a vulnerability? Like they say, right? They will bypass
Oh,
the checkpoint.
your colleague here, your friends here, they have already done that. On the
Oh,
first day itself, they found so many vulnerabilities.
who bhaiya?
I think Rohit, right? Rohit, you did that, right?
Yes, Rahul.
Yeah, Rohit.
Oh. Like parameter
Um,
tampering, they say, right? They will just change the values and
yeah, so he found out four, five big vulnerabilities in the tool. So yeah,
good.
okay, yeah, okay. Let's get started. Okay, so we were discussing about the type of hackers yesterday. Okay, these are like black hat, white hat, and gray hat. Okay, black hats are mostly the criminal hackers. Okay, they have some malicious intent of either stealing confidential information or stealing money. White hats are ethical hackers. Okay, like if you are employed by a company to find out vulnerabilities, you will be a hacker. White hat. Okay, gray hat, like they can be like, it can be either for good purpose or for both. It's like gray area. It's not good. It's not completely right, or it's not completely wrong. Okay, so that's gray hat. So, and here, if you see, we have uh, given some examples of how NASA was hacked. Okay, how someone's site was hacked. Nadia Suleiman, I don't know who she is. Okay, these are all examples of how hacking happens: software piracy, piracy software, computer sabotage. Okay, so Chernobyl virus, all those. These are all examples. Okay, let's.
Rahul,
Yes.
I guess Jonathan James was behind the NASA's attack, no?
Ah, yes, correct, correct. Yeah. And Jonathan James. I don't remember the name exactly, but similar something. There is a movie also on that. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
If
So what are password sniffers? As so it password snippers are programs that monitor and record the authentication details, name and password of network users as they log in, jeopardizing security at site. Okay, so we'll see password sniffing tools. Okay, you know what credit card frauds are, so don't need to talk about that. You know, identity theft. Someone steals your identity and starts using your social security number, like in India, if you say Aadhaar card or stuff like that, then it's identity theft. Okay, let's
भैया क्रेडिट कार्ड को ओटीपी नहीं आता है क्या?
क्रेडिट कार्ड को इंडिया में ओटीपी आता है, इंडिया के बाहर that it doesn't come. So that's yeah, that's like India has moved to a secure form of this. If you see, if you make any international transactions, no, the three-digit CVV is the security code. That's it. They won't even ask for OTP or password. Okay. So it's like once you enter the card details, you enter the CVV, done. The payment happens. The money will be deducted directly. And they have like even like India, mein, there is this tapping system, right? For 3,300 rupees that you can tap and pay. They have it till I think 50,000, 60,000 rupees. So that's another very big reason of this thing, credit card thefts, like credit card, yeah, breaches. Okay.
So
in India,
भैया
like it
Bank
is
of America and all these guys are like big things, right? Like
Yeah.
why don't they do something on security part?
There's you won't believe it. Bank of America is our biggest client. Okay, FIRA is biggest client, and they have one of the most secure systems in the world. Okay, on everything, but their system security, everything is really secure. However, I don't know what guidelines they follow, but I don't think like any company or any bank outside of India, I don't know, other countries might have it, but at least the American banks, they don't operate with the concept of OTP or passwords. They just, if someone knows your CVV number, the three-digit code, I think they'll be able to use your card. I don't know why it is like that, but yeah. But yeah, their systems are really secure. They are very, very serious about their uh, this thing or this about security of the systems. And most of these big banks, they'll invest at least 5 to 10% of their budget on security. So that's like actually a significant amount.
Okay, bhaiya.
So, yeah, let's see. You know what a hacker is? A person with strong interest in computer who enjoys learning. And okay, now, what is brute force attacks? Can someone say what is a brute force attack?
Trial and error method.
Yes, randomly, like inputting the passwords randomly,
You
unknowingly,
know,
in
you are
with
trying random things. Okay, you're just seeing if something hits hit and run,
yeah,
hit and trial. Sorry, hit and trial thing. Okay, you're just checking if this works, or this works. Tukka in Hindi. That's it. That's brute force. Okay, that's called brute force attacking. We'll see that in password attacks. Okay, what is a cracker? A criminal who breaks into a computer is called a cracker. I'm not sure how many people use this definition, but yeah, that is what a cracker is. Okay, freaking, art of breaking into phones or other communication systems is freaking. Okay. Okay. So we had discussed about this Mitre attack framework, right? On how criminals or attackers use different techniques to get into computers. That using that framework, okay, sorry, yeah, using that framework, okay, there are many actually. There are many attack vectors and techniques which can be used to get into a system. Some of the very common ones, okay. This has been taken from the attack framework only. And inadequate border protection. Sounds really common, right? So if you have not protected your computer network with proper firewalls and other systems, it might get hacked. One more very common vulnerability which exists is remote access servers with weak access controls. Like all those remote protocols which you have, they are mostly susceptible to hacking, like and they are exploited a lot. The SSH and SSLs, they can be exploited. So remote access servers are vulnerabilities which can be exploited. Applications with known exploits. Okay, suppose. I have this, like suppose I have an iPhone. iOS was like it used to be this thing, jailbreak options were there, right? So there were applications for jailbreaking and stuff like that. And the next one is misconfiguration or default configuration setup. So what happens is I think this one is also a major reason. So suppose you get a router, okay? Yeah. So when you get a new router, you will see the username and password is admin. Okay. Many people are so lazy that they do not even change those uh, configurations. So that's the default configuration which has come in with the device. So the username is admin, the password is admin. So you have not changed it, and you have started using internet. Okay. Now what happens? A third person, if he want to get into your Wi-Fi, okay, he can actually like go to the router's IP, that would be 192.168.1.0, and he can log in into the router using username and password. If he knows that if he tries something like default username and password, if it works, he'll get into the router page, and then from there he can change the password of your Wi-Fi and then start using it for himself. Okay, so that's like misconfiguration or default configuration is still in place, that then this attack like this will happen. Okay. Okay, so this was hacker type, white hat, black hat, and gray hat. Okay, you can just learn. Not needed. Okay. Attacks can be categorized into active attacks, passive attacks, inside attack, and outside attack. Okay, inside attack is like the word says it all. If the attack is originating from within your company, that's the inside attack. Outside is like with if the attack is happening from outside your organization. Active attack is like when they are using this attack to alter system or affect the availability and integrity and authenticity of data. They are actively trying to modify or change the status quo of your system. Passive attack is they are just listening. They're just sitting there and trying to gather information. They're not trying to change anything in your system. They're just sitting and listening. That's a passive attack. Okay, so yeah, cybercrime planning. So this was like the 5 steps which we had discussed yesterday about pen testing. Okay, so what is reconnaissance? Get to know the target. Like you would have heard in surveillance also. If you should have seen spy movies, you would have heard this term surveillance and reconnaissance. Like they are just seeing, observing the target. Okay, they are just figuring out, they're gathering information about the target. So that's reconnaissance. Once you have all the information that you need, you will weaponize. Uh, you will use the you will use certain things to get into the network. That's called weaponization. Once it's like you'll use once it happens, once you get into the network, you will deliver that the package. Like if you suppose you want to deliver trojans or mostly trojans or phishing something, you can just deliver. Once it's delivered, you can start exploiting it, exploit the network and get better idea of the network. If you want to install something, you can do that. Command and control. If you want to control the system, you can do that. Or you can and then action on objective and close and cover the tracks in the end when you want to. Like once you have achieved your objective, you will cover your tracks. So mostly this is where hackers get caught. Okay, this is where they get caught while covering their track. They always leave some footprint or the other. Okay. So, reconnaissance. Okay, let's talk about reconnaissance. Can someone tell me how can you gather data passively? Few examples how to gather data passively about, like, suppose I want to gather some information about, let's say, Indian Army. Okay, how do you gather that information? Passive, in a passive way.
But I
Do
can say about the people's PAN card and all. Like when they go for a Xerox vendor can take
They're too
double.
sophisticated, too sophisticated, too sophisticated. Why don't you just Google, right?
Oh,
Yes,
Yeah, you
like
can use.
we can use
using social
who is
media.
lookup.
Okay, yeah, that is like just take, let's take the example of Indian Army. What you can do? You can Google, okay, where the bases
Yes,
are, Indian Army bases are. Okay, you can use Google Earth to check out those bases, right? It's clearly visible in Google Earth, right? So you can use those tools can be used for passive reconnaissance. Okay, you can do Google or Yahoo search. You can surf on Facebook or Instagram to find big people in big posts in army. Okay, you can search their organization website to get information. Okay, or you can learn about them through blogs, newspaper, press release, etc. Okay, now then there are this network sniffing tools. This is also part of like you were talking about who is, right? So yeah, these fall under the network sniffing tool. They'll gather information on the networks. Okay, so let's say, so yeah, passive information gathering tools are Google Earth, okay, Internet Archives, LinkedIn, Facebook, people search, domain name confirmation. You can do this from GoDaddy or something. You can confirm the domain name. You can look up about them on whois.com. Okay, you can do NS lookups. Okay, you can do DNS stuff. You can do trace routing. These are all like tools which can be used. Okay, to gather passive information. So see, if you do NS lookup, suppose you want to do NS lookup, okay, on ndtv.com. So the answer you will get is name ndtv.com. The address you will get is 72.247.54.47. This NS lookup is namespace lookup. Okay, so you can just search for search about a domain and it will give you address or something. If you do the same thing for, like, suppose you want to do it for Airtel, okay, this everything, all the details you will get, like, in who is, okay, you will get all, like, you are doing in who is. If you go, let's search, okay, not this one, okay. You get all this information like name servers, okay, everything. I don't think it's already registered. I don't
Wait,
think
are
so.
these accurate or is this somewhat
DNS rep.
simple?
Uh,
Mostly
they're
accurate.
yeah, mostly accurate, almost, like, mostly accurate, because the information which it gathers is from the web directories, okay, like www directories, so world wide web directories. So it's mostly accurate only, okay.
But yeah, IP address, public IP address, these are all dynamic, right? So
Uh, so uh, NDTV will have not, it won't be a dynamic IP address, okay, for all this mostly websites, right? Like for networks, NDTV, it's all static. It's not dynamic.
okay,
Yeah.
Yeah, they go for
The
dedicated
address,
servers.
okay, all this will have, so that is another topic we can cover later, about how IP addresses, what are IP4, IPv version 4 addresses, what are IPv version 6 addresses, how do we, what are CDRs, class domain range, okay, we can cover those, class A, class B, class C of, that is like to do with networks, and it's nothing to do with cybersecurity. That's why I did not cover it. But yeah, it's a static address. Okay, then let's talk about active information. Those were passive information gathering. Now we can talk about active information gathering. Okay, here you are trying, actually, like, getting into the network, trying to get information by changing or altering something, and you will let if you are gathering information through active reconnaissance, the network in that company, they'll come to know about it if they are using a sim, or like alert. The alerts will be generated if you are doing active reconnaissance always. Okay, so um, the tools which can be used for active reconnaissance is Nmap. Okay, Nmap is a port scanner. TCP dump, it's a command line packet analyzer. Okay, then there is Netcat, which is really famous. Read and write network connections using TCP and UDP. Okay, then there is RPing. Then there is this dig, and all these are like famous. The most famous, if you want to remember, would be Netcat, Nmap, and TCP dump. These three. Okay, Nmap is a port scanner. It will scan for open ports and all. It will scan for ports, open and closed ports like FTP, HTTP. All those it will scan. Okay, TCP dump is it will analyze the TCP packets. Okay, Netcat is it will read and write on UDP and TCP packets. Okay, now how reconnaissance work. Okay, so we did who is lookups, right? We saw examples on Nmap port scanning yesterday. We yeah, another thing is web page analysis and email address search can be used for reconnaissance. Social media research can be done for reconnaissance. Okay, so those were the reconnaissance. That was about reconnaissance. Let's talk about weaponization now. Uh, so weaponization can be done using trojans, or like, yeah, using trojan or phishing or something like that, which can be used to, like, get into the system. Like, okay, watering hole attacks can be used, or fake web pages can be used, spear phishing can be used. Like, yeah, all those can be done. Delivery ho gaya. Let's cover this. We don't need command and control is not required. Uh, okay. Ways to launch. What is the attack vector? Anyone?
Can you come again, Rahul?
What is the attack vector?
We can say it as a like
A medium to get
yeah,
into some
medium,
account.
Yes,
medium.
correct, correct, correct. Yeah, it's the medium. Yeah, just like what techniques you can use to get into the system. Medium. Okay. So either you can attack using email attachments, attack by deception, social engineering, and hoaxes. Hackers are also attack vectors. Okay, attack by web pages, the heedless guests, attack by worms, malicious macros, sneakware, and viruses. Okay, this can be ways to launch attack like various attack vectors. Attack vectors can be multiple and like many things. You just need to remember this term. Attack vector is the medium by which you can launch an attack. Okay, zero-day attack we had discussed yesterday. So zero-day attack is attack for which we do not have any patches available, right? Port scan, we have covered this. Don't need type of port scan, don't need social engineering. I think you all know social engineering. Okay, so let's talk about some types of social engineering. What imposter attack, right? Impersonating an employee or user, right? You can actually do identity theft, and you can like you will you will imposter yourself as some other employee and try to like use his access or his credentials to gain information. Okay, uh, what is shoulder surfing and what is dumpster driving? Anyone?
What
No
role?
idea. What is soldier surfing?
Shoulder surfing, like suppose if uh, suppose I'm an employee in a company and my next to the next employee sitting and he's entering the parcel, so I can like
Yeah, correct.
from the
Yeah,
back
yeah.
side I can see what he is typing.
Yeah, you can just take a sneak peek into his.
Sneak peek.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah. So that's soldier surfing. Dumpster diving is so we had seen earlier that all the assets, like all the confidential physical assets, are supposed to be destroyed, right? All they have to be shredded when once it's not used, right? So what this dumpster diving happens when like when after shredding you dispose all this information like you have a credit card, like multiple credit cards, you just you want to dispose it off, you cut it into 10 parts and throw it in the dustbin. This attacker, the dumpster diving happens like they'll collect the cards, they'll piece it together, they'll piece it back together, and then they'll use that information. Okay, so that's dumpster diving. That's also social engineering. Okay, don't need impersonating third person technician, solar surfing. Yeah, so this is example of solar surfing here. Okay, you see, I'm entering my password, 10 people are watching from behind. Dumpster driving is, yeah, looking in trash for information written on piece of paper or computer printouts. Fake emails, yeah, the phishing thing. Let's cover, don't be a victim, don't want to be. You know what cyber stalking is, right? So this is very common thing, I think, normal word cover. Botnet, yeah. Um, okay, stages of cyber or stages of an attack. The same thing again. Initial data collection, then probing the network, then initiating electronic crime. Okay. See? Capturing the network, grab the data, cover the track. So the same thing again, again, they have covered. Okay. What is proxy server and anonymizers? Anyone? What is a proxy server?
It's like requesting data on behalf of us.
Can you like be a little louder
Hello.
slowly?
Am I audible?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
it's like requesting data on behalf of us.
Okay, correct. So, and what are anonymizers? Anyone? So, you would have heard about this thing like when people are uh, trying to be they are when people are trying to disguise themselves or they don't want to be tracked, they'll use this anonymizer proxy anonymizers. Okay, so what will happen here is these are anonymizers. Okay, you are end user one, there are many anonymizers in between. Okay, all this will have different IP addresses. So when they use a proxy server, the traffic will go here, then it will go here, then again come back here. They'll confuse people who are trying to track your movement. Okay, so those are anonymizers. They'll all fake your IP addresses, and then when the traffic reaches here web server, it will come in from like unknown source, some anonymizer, let's suppose 4. When that web server tries to see if it's anonymized 4, then you will figure out that no, it was coming in from 8. When you go to 8, you will figure out, oh no, it was coming in from 9. So this is how that they try to anonymize themselves. That's like proxy server, how it is used. You'd have seen this example of offshore accounts and all those shell companies, all those, like they do anonymization. They'll route the money through 10, 15 different sources, right? So that is how this is the same principle. Phishing, though, we have seen phishing, how it works. Yeah. So here, Fisher's favorite top 25 websites. PayPal is the most fished website ever. Okay, most of whenever they want to uh, launch a phishing campaign, they'll always, most of the times, PayPal accounts are used, then Facebook accounts, and Microsoft, Netflix, WhatsApp. All the 20 top 25 phished accounts. Okay, so I think you guys had an assignment on how to prevent phishing. So that phishing simulation. Yeah, we did this somewhat. So these are some of the free phishing tools which you can use. Uh, just a second, Rahul Pandey here. So InfoSec IQ, GoFish, Lucy, Simple Phishing Toolkit. All these are like available on the internet for free of cost. You can download and use it. But yeah, they won't let you send phishing emails to gmail.com or commercial mail platforms.
Yes, means we can use Mkaya platform to send phishing emails.
Which one?
Mkaya CZ.
Empire. Didn't get you. Can you?
Mkaya. I will type in chat.
Okay. Okay, please do that. Okay. You can. Yeah, correct. All right. Okay. So can someone tell me what hashing and salting is?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hashing is hashing is in types of encryption.
What happens using hash? What? Why do we hash? So
To maintain the integrity of data.
yes, correct. So hash cannot be reversed. Okay, and it will give you a, if even if you hash a password, like if you have a password of 20 characters, if you put a hashing algorithm, it will give you a certain like fixed character length. Okay, that will be 8 or 10, whatever the algorithm has been. So the application of hashing is to for password storage. It is useful in password storage. Some of the hashing algorithms are MD5 or SHA-256. We'll be covering hashing in when we discuss encryption later. Okay. So yeah. So password storage is done using hashing. Okay. A password is, this is a password. Suppose apple, a salt is added. Salt means a random text is added just to confuse the uh, the third party mode. Okay, so a salt is added, then an algorithm, hashing algorithm is put, then the value which comes is like hash password plus salt. That is what is stored in a password storage solution. Okay, so that is how a password manager works, a password storage solution works. Two most common hashing techniques are MD5 and SHA 256. Okay, password cracking techniques will be okay. So these are like some of the types of attacks which are generally like you'll see these questions mostly in security plus or CISSP exams. What is a dictionary attack? What is a brute force attack? What is a rainbow table attack? So dictionary attack is when attacker, okay, he'll sit with a dictionary, okay, he'll try to enter passwords which are very common, like which are in dictionary index of most commonly used password words as passwords. Okay, so every year Google or some sites, they'll come up with 1,000 most commonly used passwords. Okay, so he'll sit with that directory and start entering them one by one. That's like dictionary attack. Brute force is random. Like brute force may, they'll type your email. If they know your date of birth, they'll type that. If they know your name, they'll try to enter random things and see if it works. Rainbow table attack is pre-computed passwords and their corresponding hash values. Okay, so this is very interesting one. If they know one hash value, they'll try to get they'll try to think of words which will give the same hash values, and that is how they end up guessing the password. However, it's difficult. Yeah, some of the tools used for password cracking are Brutus, okay, Rainbow Crack, John the Ripper is a very famous example. THC Hydra is a very famous example. You can and this one Aircrack NG. Okay, so Aircrack, when someone asks you about two tools for password hacking, what will you say? You should say Brutus and John the Ripper.
Yes.
Okay, everyone will know these names. Two password cracking tool. Okay, Brutus and John the Ripper. If they ask about some name a tool to this thing for to get Wi-Fi password, what will you tell? Aircrack NG. It's really very famous tool. It doesn't work now, okay, because we have moved to WPA version 2, okay. So it was used when web encryption protocol and WPA was used, web privacy, like wireless privacy algorithm was used. So that was when Aircrack NG was effective. However, it's not effective now, but this is a very famous tool, Aircrack NG. You can guess Wi-Fi passwords easily using it. Okay. Here weak passwords, then strong passwords. We had discussed this. What is characteristic? What requirements you should put in place for strong passwords? Okay. Secure password generator. Okay. Spyware not required. We discussed this. Keyloggers is discussed. Hardware. Okay, no. You know the difference between virus and worms, right? We had discussed this in this first class only, I think. Anyone needs me to explain it again? No, right?
No.
Okay. Okay. All right. Then again, there are types of viruses: boot sector virus, program virus, multipartite virus, stealth virus. Just know the name. Okay, you don't need to know them in detail right now. Boot sector virus is when they affect the boot sectors. Then multipartite virus is a fast-moving virus that uses file infectors or boot infectors to attack the boot sectors. Again, stealth viruses which are not detected very easily. Okay, polymorphic, they morph according to the process. Macro virus is like when you something which affects Word or MS Excel or Access. Trojan horse and backdoors, you know that, right? We had discussed this in the earlier classes. Okay, now we'll go to this one, not now. Okay. Okay. Last class we had discussed on DDoS. Now today we'll be discussing about SQL injection, buffer overflow, ransomware. We have covered it, but again we'll talk some more about it. What is SQL injection? Anyone?
It's like inputting the SQL commands or queries in a input section like username or password, so that the database could validate it and provide the access of the dashboard or account.
Okay. So before that, I know some of you are not from computer science background. Okay. So SQL is structured query language. Okay. This is used to get and read information from large databases. Okay. So suppose you have database which has around million or 2 million entries, and you need to get information about one single person from that 2 million entries. So you won't go and search each and every, like you won't scroll and search for that person, right? You will just run a command. You'll run a SQL query, structured query language. You'll run it, and you will get that information just like that. So you will have to put something like from table. Suppose okay, we'll talk about how to write SQL queries later. But yeah. So yeah, yeah, he was explaining SQL injection is a code injection technique in which malicious SQL statements are inserted into an entry field for injection execution. So someone else, I think most of you have some knowledge on SQL injection. Anyone else can explain it? No one? No one wants to.
Hello?
Okay, let's see.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Yeah, can you repeat it one more time?
Tell.
What you have
Okay.
said?
Yeah. Okay. SQL injection. Okay. So SQL injection is a code injection technique in which malicious SQL statements are inserted into an entry field for execution. Okay. SQL injection attacks take advantage of improper coding of web applications. If you have not done secure code, if you have not followed secure coding practices like input validation and all, you will be susceptible to SQL injection. And SQL injection always falls under OWASP Prop 10. Okay, let's see what OWASP Prop 10 is. Okay, so OWASP Prop 10 is every year this OWASP is the organization which releases top 10 vulnerabilities which affect computers the most, and SQL injection is always like one of them. Okay, if you see 2020 21, okay, injection attack still is number 3, right here. So the first always is broken access control. That is like when there is no proper access controls, which we had seen earlier. Second is cryptographic failures. We had seen the cryptographic attacks. Third is injection attacks. Fourth, insecure designs. Fifth is security misconfiguration. Sixth is vulnerable and outdated components. Seventh is identification and authentication failures. Eighth is software and data integrity failures. So every year there are top 10 vulnerabilities which affect the system. So yeah, we'll need to know all this as well. Like what are OWASP top 10? Okay, so let's before going further into SQL injection, let's talk about this one. What? Okay, broken access attack, I think everyone knows. Okay, so this is like, if you see, there are incident rate is 55.97%, average incident rate is 3.84. So this is the most exploited vulnerability, broken access, and it is a part of OWASP top 10. It's always a part of OWASP top 10, like every year. Okay. So description
Rahul,
of, yeah,
can I explain an attack scenario regarding this?
yes, go ahead.
Like, I don't know whether it is correct or not. It's like in one vulnerable application, I was able to like change the passwords of another users also from my account, and can take control of the that accounts also. So is it comes under this, or like?
That will be input validation. That will be SQL input validation attack. Okay. So
Okay,
it won't be broken access attack. It will be input, this thing,
IDOR,
injection,
I guess IDOR.
injection,
It comes under IDOR.
injection. That will
Yeah,
be
yeah.
injection attack. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. So yeah, the first one which we are talking about is broken access control. The description is access control enforces like it's the same thing. You know what broken access is, right? When someone is able to like get your username or password, he is able to authenticate on behalf using your ports.
Yeah,
That's like broken
it's
access
like
control. Second
stealing.
is cryptographic failures. Okay. So
Broken access control. Yeah, the
little
broken
louder,
access
please.
control. It's like stealing
Yeah.
cookies and using our cookies.
Yeah, correct, correct. Yeah, yeah, correct. What is cryptographic failure?
Yeah, I guess आपने बोला ना hash rate और वो सब.
Yeah, all those things. Yeah, if someone is able to read your encrypted information, or you have not encrypted properly, then that's cryptographic failure. It's also a part of OWASP top 10 web application security risks. Okay, people like this will definitely come in the this thing as well. Like interviews, people they'll ask at least out of the 10, name list 5 of the top 10 vulnerabilities, okay, which affect web applications. So I'll create a task for this as well, okay. So if you see in job description and requirements, okay, you will see something about OWASP top 10. You will see it everywhere. So that this is that, okay. So what happens, they'll ask name 5 OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities. Then how do you this thing, what are the controls that you should put in place to avoid these, okay. So we have discussed about how to not how to have secure access controls. We'll discuss about cryptographic controls. We'll discuss about injections now. Insecure design is like yeah, you have not designed your system. Like we were discussing about how to design networks properly, right? If you don't do it properly, that's a vulnerability as well in of insecure design. Then you don't did not configure your system properly. All the security, you have left some protocol open or some port open. Then that security misconfiguration. You are using vulnerable and outdated components in your network. If the router is very vulnerable, you're still using, if you're using some old generation Cisco routers, that might be like vulnerable. That is also a reason. And then identification and authentication failures. If you don't have MFA or OTP like stuff like that, just using passwords, and that too not strong ones, there might be identification and authentication failures. Then software and data integrity failures, okay. This one, like nowadays, this has come down in the ranking, but this used to be a big issue in the older times. Like people used to exploit the integrity issues in software. Okay. Logging and monitoring failures again, yeah. So if you're not logging and monitoring, this is again can be exploited. It's number 9, the most exploited vulnerabilities. And then cross this one, CSRR and XSRR, like the request forgery, server side and client side request forgery. This is also like still exists as like this has been this thing. Uh, this has been a vulnerability since a long time, and people still suffer because of this. Okay, so just remember, try to we'll have a assignment based on this one. Okay, this is very important. If you see OWASP top 10, every year they release a new list. You see 13, 14, 15, 13 to 17. You see this is like top 10 now. Okay, injection attack. This is for 2017. Injection was top 10 in 2017. Broken authentication was second. Sensitivity exposure was third. Like that. Okay, they have a like all this. Every year they come up with a list of top 10 security vulnerabilities. Okay, and SQL injection is always a part. Of, like injection is always a part of that. So yeah, let's see example of an injection attack. So you see, just like one of our friends was explaining, you can like change, you can alter the query, okay, to change its meaning. Okay, what will happen is like if some of you know how to write SQL queries, okay, you will see that this is a proper SQL query, right? This like this SQL query is asking this one is asking to get the user ID and to get password, not user ID, from selecting user, selecting star from user where user ID equal to. So yeah, it's being it's asking to get the user ID. Okay. So now what if you see here? If in what will happen instead of okay, so how many of you know SQL? First, I don't want to simply explain and no one understands.
Yeah, I know.
I know.
Okay, so yeah, okay,
Yeah, I know.
okay, all right, then yeah, it's okay. It is for people who know, and for people who don't know, it just know this term, like just know this thing that SQL injection is like when they alter the SQL queries, as SQL fields to change the meaning and still get the output. That's SQL injection attack, which happens. Okay, so here. Uh, See, if you don't have a proper, see, so this was the SQL. Okay, so this is a user ID field where you need to input user ID. Okay, so I have to enter my user ID here in this field here. Okay, so now if someone is smart, okay, and the system, the SQL injection, the secure coding practices are not followed, the user will enter 105. Suppose my user ID is 105 or 1 equal to 1. Now, when you type 1 equal to 1, okay, what happens is the SQL query, how it operates is if you are typing 1 equal to 1, it will always it will, the result will come as true, right? Because 1 is equal to 1. How do I explain this properly? Okay. Yeah. So if you type this, okay, 105 or 1 equal to 1, okay, so even if the user ID is not 105, okay, suppose you don't know the user ID, some user ID is XYZ and you don't know it. So what you do is you put some random user ID 105, or you are saying if not this, 1 equal to 1 means this or this, whichever is true, return that. So what will happen in that case is, since this is true, it will accept the value. Okay, and the data will be displayed. That's how you can exploit, you can get into the database. So I know I am not making that much sense. I'll just I'll request you guys to, like, after this session, maybe tomorrow, just watch a small YouTube video about like how SQL injections happen. I'm not making much sense. Yeah, I know that. Okay, but that is how it is. So what the attacker did was he did not know the user ID. So he put some random user ID or 1 equal to 1. So since and when the SQL, the compiler, when it sees this thing, it will see this is not right. Then it will go to the next thing, or 1 equal to 1. It will see that yeah, it is right. So it will accept the value, and then it will get the user into the database because one of the statements were correct. even if this was not correct, the user ID was not correct, this was correct, right? Because one is equal to one, okay? And or this was it had a or statement. So if any one was true, it would accept the value and return the database field. So that is how it happens. And to prevent SQL injection attack, there is like input validation techniques and which has to be followed. Okay, you have to follow secure coding practices, and input validation should be taken into consideration whenever you are
Yeah,
creating the
hello.
codes. This is
Yeah,
also an example. Yeah,
can I try to explain that?
yeah, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, just tell the scenario, the user input um, 105 or 1 equal to 1, how the scenario gets executed. Mm, Text user ID equal to get request string of user ID. The second line you can see that it's like the user is sorry, not the user, the developer is getting the ID or the data from the user in the text user ID variable, and he is using the variable in the SQL string select star from user where user ID equal to the provided user string by the user. Here, why the thing is executing is the user given input is executing here. That's why the SQL injection occurs. User input 105 or 1 equal to 1 means if any of the one input is correct, then you should provide the output.
Correct. Yeah. That's a very good, reasonable explanation, I would say. Yeah. Okay. And there are more examples on how you can do SQL injections like normal. Nowadays, here again, if you see, same thing has happened. Uh, Enter the password, he'll enter random password or one equal to one. So if even if the password is wrong, this will be accepted. This value will be accepted and he'll be let in. Okay. So this was the code which was written SQL query select ID from user where username equal to username and password equal to password. Okay. Now, once this is executed, one if the user has to enter the password, he can do this and get into the system like because this will return as true. That's it. You are yeah. Here as well, same. Like you see here also, they have injected a simple code like instead of item name equal to name, they have injected a equal to a. That will always return as true. Okay. Injection steps are so this one, yeah, you can try some examples for SQL. You can try it online. Okay. So there is this Google Doc list. Okay, you can search for Google Doc list on the internet. You will get a list of vulnerable websites. Okay. Now what you have to do? Google Doc is searching for vulnerable website using the Google searching trick. Okay. Use in URL this one. Okay, for finding vulnerable website. Some examples are this one. You can do in URL. Let's say.
Rahul, we have this one like test web.php.
Yes, there are many like that. Yes, correct.
Yeah, Akunetics also we have like a vulnerable website to
Yeah,
just to
yeah, yeah,
practice.
yeah. Just for practice, yes, correct. So let's say this one only. Not it. Someone else. Look at it down. Getting something problem. Okay. So these are like yeah, you can find. So if you want to search for any vulnerable website, just try to put this command in URL. This thing, okay, before a website, you will get to know if that website is vulnerable or not. Like if it returns some error, okay, you will see that like that is actually vulnerable. Let's check this with Google, okay, google.com. Sorry. Okay. Okay, I'm putting this list here. You can use it later. You can see. Okay. It's already linked. Okay. So let's close this session for today. Okay. And tomorrow, the next session, we'll be covering some things on buffer overflow. We won't take much time on that. After that, we'll close network security. Okay. And we'll start with business continuity management, incident response, and we'll cover which one again? We'll cover, let's cover business continuity, then incident response, and threat and vulnerability management. Okay, we'll cover these three topics tomorrow. Okay, and after like the next class, we'll hardly have 3 to 4 classes more, in which we'll be covering on things like cryptography, cloud security. Will take one full class for cloud security. Then we will talk things about vendor management, how we manage our vendor security. I think that should be okay. That is everything which we'll need to know for like at least the interview part. I'm not like I'm not teaching you entire cybersecurity syllabus or anything. I'm just like helping you crack the interview. That's it. Okay, guys, any questions before we close out? I think no
Are
one is.
we including this third party risk management?
Yes, yes, we are with. It's very important. Like I think many jobs
Yeah.
will. Yeah, there are many job openings for TPRM, okay, third party risk management. If you want, I can take 2 3 classes on that. Like it's an important topic. Yeah, we'll talk about that. And there will be a lot
Yes,
of job
if
openings for TPRM.
possible, like Rahul, if possible
Yeah.
with you, we can take that classes like on risk
Yeah, yeah.
management. Like,
Okay, okay. Vendor risk management is a important topic. Okay,
hmm.
lots of job openings are there on that one as well. Okay, so we'll
And can we take one more session on MITRE attack framework?
okay, we can do that. Like we'll only I can okay. We'll talk about that framework. Okay, and some of the techniques of that framework again. Tomorrow only we'll cover that.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Any question? Kuldeep, Hemant, Rohit, Surya, Sajid.